Hi everyone, this is Evelyn here, and I had done a channeling yesterday and I had listened to it again last night, and all of these new messages were coming through, and also just clarifying some of the stuff that I did go through yesterday. So I did need to bring this post. So I'm going to go through some of the stuff that came up as I was re-listening to it, and I only got halfway through it actually. Okay, so this was a dual message from the collective masculine and the collective feminine, as in the first split from source. So not the mother father one, but once they've split, and those perspectives of the two collectives. One of the things that had come through at the end of my video was LD of HMC, and I hadn't had a chance to actually look that up to see what that was and what kind of message it was. And it was coming up from the translation in Google Translate for the name Sarah McDonald, which I talked about. And LMC was coming up as Horizontal Machining Center, and machine was a big word in my message yesterday. And machining having to do with the mother, and then china or porcelain, breakable, something that being breakable, and the horizontal center. And I always get the energy of the eagle soaring horizontally and the phoenix rising vertically, as in the horizontal and vertical pillars coming together in the crossroads, the center. And here it's coming in as the LD, or the logarithm, base 2, of the horizontal machining center. HMC also comes up as headmasters and headmistresses, and we were talking a lot about ladies and lords yesterday. It comes up as headmasters and headmistresses conference, and also Hui Shu Hmong, which is a Mao language of China, came up. And since we were talking about China yesterday, I thought that was also relevant. And LD, besides logarithm base 2, also means lunar distance, laser disc, yeah. It was literally LD with a high degree of HMC. So, in re-listening to my video, the reason I started taking notes, because I stopped at one point where I said something about the wolf going through the city gate. And then it was taking me back to the mouth reference, of the mouth being the portal, the gate. And also the word tiki and tiki was coming up as, there's a lot of references to tea, but in the message, Terra was coming up as in reference to us ascending from Earth to Terra. And of course, Trump is going to come up with the letter T and the tree of us. So when they were talking yesterday about the T, it has to do with Terra and home in the United States of America, but the United States of America as being Terra. Not just our country, United States of America, but the whole world being United States of America energy, okay? So the wolf through the city gate, regarding, remember we were talking about, so if you haven't listened to the message from yesterday, you might want to listen to that. That money wasn't money in the message, or fees weren't money, it had to do with life experiences. If you want to come, go, or just be, that you had to experience certain things in order to do those things. And here was the city gate was coming up as the city being a life, but city is also CT. And then CT comes up again as the Christ consciousness, and the T of what I just explained of being Terra, or the example of the United States of America, but all around the world. That our home is this planet, not just one place. The mouth of the city gate was coming up as the mouth of the dragon, and the wolf going through it. And then, as you'll see in my messages that I'm going to bring you now, then brings up Aries gate, which is coming up 4/4 with the eclipse on tomorrow, which is why I wanted to get this message out to you now before the eclipse. Because then it references, there's this reference of the wolf going through the city gate. Well, let me just read the way my notes, so it'll come to you in order and will be very well understood. So the city gate, the mouth of the dragon, which came up in reference to the snake, the serpent, the dragon, all being under the same meaning. And Yamato and Nara were coming up in Japan, being the fingerprint of fire, and then the masculine as the wolf gate. So we have the fire gate, wolf gate, and then them together would go through the mountain gate, which mountain literally means the farthest back remembrance, right? So the remembering of who we are. His gate, his choice and gate in which to live. And again, when we come into incarnation, choosing, what game we want to play, what experience we want to have, what cost we want to experience in order to come and go and be. So he chooses her fire, she his wolf, they the mountain gate of remembrance. And then Hiroshima came up again, Hiroshima, I forget which is the proper pronunciation. But August 6th this year, 2025, is the anniversary, 80 years of Hiroshima. And I've been getting all these messages recently about how the 80 years was the time it took for Earth to transmute those energies, and then were showing me how the gas of like the human body, then eliminating their food and waste, going to the bathroom, peeing and pooping, is the same kind of energy they were showing me as Hiroshima, now kind of pooping out the gas at the end through Hawaii and those eruptions. So Owa and Waikiki was coming up, which again strongly references Hawaii with Oahu and Waikiki, which I was just in Waikiki, but also was coming up as the Owa, because Wa is Japan, and then Waikiki as that Hawaii energy, and then again bringing up all of the interaction between the two. So the letter O also references for me not only 0 point, but it references the human, and the human embodied by source, which comes up here as the masculine, but where in the message I gave you yesterday, the masculine was coming up in the Arab language mostly, and then other languages like Japanese and Hawaiian were coming up as the feminine. But here they were then going into Japanese being the masculine energy, which then would be the son of the mother, because the feminine collective was the mother and son, and the masculine collective was just the father, or what was called the uncle in the message yesterday. And then water key as the mother with emotions, the Mother Earth type of energy. So here the Japanese masculine to the Hawaiians feminine in the story of them attacking Pearl Harbor. And notice Pearl is very much a reference to the feminine energy. And it also is reflecting exactly the story that I just told you yesterday as well about Ninhursag, which is Enki or Ea, Poseidon's twin sister, Ninhursag, but she also comes up as Ninki, which just means Lady Ki, Lady Earth, and Enki is Lord Earth. Okay, so here in the story of the twins, Ninhursag's retaliation to Enki, because he was collecting a jar of hearts, she teaches him a lesson that he wouldn't soon forget by causing his organs, from which she birthed his children, would fail one by one, until she is called upon to give him grace and forgive him and heal him, save his face, after his disgrace and fall, rebuild from scratch with a totally new and honorable perspective. So exactly what happened with the parallel between Hawaii and Japan with Hiroshima, the feminine taking him down for not keeping his word to her or fooling around, right? And then having to rebuild from scratch in a much more healthy and honorable way. And then the I am TikTok, I keep saying tic-tac, but TikTok came up because I wanted to expand on that more. And there's also an expression that came through in the translations yesterday of blood K and K. And when I went into this energy, because stupid K also came up, so I kept getting this K energy they wanted me to expand on. And here, and I didn't get into this until the next page, but since I'm looking at TikTok and blood K and K as the expressions that came through yesterday, it was taking us to the antigen. There is an antigen, large K and small k, and I'll get into that in a minute, which is important. And this might have to do with certain ET hybrids who are here on Earth, may have that capital K antigen, which most people don't have that one. The KEL is the group of antigens, and notice there are 25 of them, and 25 comes up again in another way in this message as well. Let me just see here if there's something. Okay, so when I wrote blood K and K, and I was trying to figure out why they were giving me K and K, because they were trying to give me another message about them. Of course, I was asking them about potassium. Is it someone who's got really high potassium in their blood? So that might be relating to someone out there. That might be a message for them. But also vitamin K could be coming up, but they were saying no, that it wasn't a reference to that. Could be potassium, but it was more a reference to this antigen, the blood antigen, like an RH, positive or negative. This is another type of antigen, another type of gene that can cause issues if you don't have something and then you do have something, just like the RH positive and negative and the mother and child giving birth together. And with this in Arabic, the patter was coming up, where the blood K and K was coming up as the pitter patter, and potting had been coming up regarding the melting pot of the United States. So pitter patter and potting were all coming up here. And remember, hippopotamus also came up with the hippo pot am us, just like Toys R Us. The melting pot are us of the horse's head, hippo. The talking head, Mr. Ed. So also in Tamil, ditto had come up. And in Telugu, and I didn't have time to expand on this word, thikathoka. Thy, KK, so here's double K again, ath, okay. An infinite okay. So getting an infinite okay on thy KK. And then tick was also coming up. And this is all just going, putting TikTok into the translator to see what was coming up. And again, ditto was coming up. So this repeating of the K was very important. In Chinese, TikTok came up as test questions okay. And antibody okay. I didn't even see that before. Wow. That's crazy. So that's a confirmation that I went in the right direction. And then bitter also came up in Bengali. Then I got the download of Wolf of Wall Street and the Great Wall of China, the writing on the wall, as the Japan gate to China, to see the writings on the wall. And then I was getting the unsinkable Molly Brown, and again the reference to China being breakable, right? The porcelain that's very breakable, but being unbreakable. And then, of course, Molly Brown came up in Titanic. Molly Brown was very American, and coming up as the serious, so from serious, but with humor. And I have a lib road is what came up in the translation here, which lib means drug or medicine or poison or charm. And then millibron, the word millibron came up in Arabic, which milli is 1,000, and then the word bron, which I'll give you the definitions for that in a minute. Now remember, Titanic went down off the coast of Newfoundland, 380 miles southeast, which is around it's the 41st, 41 to 42 degrees. So it's like the top of Pennsylvania, around there. That's where the Titanic went down. That parallel anyway. And Mali, one of the definitions for Mali came up as Mali, M-A-L-I, which means the cast of the gardener, the constant gardener type of energy. And that's in South Asian. So here's the garden, and going back to Himiko again. So I have it was a definition for Mali in Japanese, and then in Arabic, Mali was sire. And sire is, the horse that you sire, you use to breed, which references the lord, the master, the king, the monarchy, the knight, noble husband, head vein to kirtle, male animal, like I said, originator, creator, vampire, who has turned another into a vampire, or in other words, the bloodsucker. And also it means, Mali means to coagulate milk or curdle and make cheese. So this reference of Japan, you know, you always you think of China and then Japan. But just like England to United States, they were showing me Japan to China. Very interesting. I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss anything on this page. Oh, so as the monarchy came up for Mali as well, it had come up yesterday, because if you remember, when I said monarchy, it also sounds like monkey, but also monarchy came up, which is like monarchy. So there was a reference to both of those as well. So Millie Braun, the word brawn means white horses. So what was coming up here, 1,000 white horses bridge the cow's placenta. And remember yesterday, the mother came up as, right, the Holy Mother, Holy Water, Holy Cow. And here that 1,000 white horses bridge the cow's placenta, a gate with a fille. And then like jeune fille in French, the little girl, fille was coming up, the deer's cry and longing, the stairwell in which to bellow or roar when they're not keeping one's word. Okay, so here is again, the beef between the masculine and the feminine. So just as England is to US, Japan is to China. And of course, England is a monarchy. And the reference to monkey is also mun, which is moon key, which is moon is the daughter. And again, Himika, I didn't pick up that reference before. So England being the monarchy, but Himiko was just her. She was a queen princess, she was unmarried, and she ruled from a place of just herself. She had 1,000 people under her at the castle. So the unsinkable Molly Brown is referencing the large massive land, right? The island seeking that big massive land that would be more supportive. And the unbreakable china, the porcelain, that is beautiful. The masculine islands being islands to themselves, and those that would come against them, the feminine. In Arabic, the sire, the knight, the creator, the vampire, and in Japanese, I have it, his word. How now, brown cow, as natives honor her land, as opposed to being given their word from the masculine and then them lying or fooling around, and then her meeting these other energies who appreciate her land. How now, brown cow was a download that came in as the natives honoring her land, the native to any land. One cannot own, take down, or affect the collective beauty and soil of the great mass of land, the feminine, the pearl threaded. So remember from yesterday, the father is the I am, and she says we're the we are. She's the mother and the son. The pearl threaded, or the harbors resentment, an island apart, left alone to defend themselves. So it's like Japan is the masculine here, and Hawaii is it's like the daughter, because it's like the mother is the mainland now, like the United States of America, but Hawaii has broken off from the mainland, like birthing the daughter. So she's been left alone to defend herself. As the part of she, the land mass, that acts like he, because remember the mother is the mother and the son. So here the son is coming out and wants to be separate from the mass. So there's also the son and daughter energy of like kind of leaving the mainland, right? They want their freedom, acting like a child. The part of she, the big landmass of the mother, that acts like he, the island, and then retaliates. So why Hawaii retaliated? Because the expression of the Mother Earth was coming up as the sun in that instance. Stands up to, so the part of she that acts like he, the island, and retaliates, therefore stands up to his attack from Japan, giving him a warning, as Hawaii gave Japan a warning. If you don't stop this war, then we're going to, nuke your country, okay? Stands up to his attack, gave him a warning, but didn't listen or heed their warning, did not heed the call. And when all was said and done, hundreds of thousands of innocent ones died, entering the lion's gate, the mouth, in a diseased state condition. All right, so this Hiroshima happened on August 6th, and I forget when they hit again, was not long after that. But Lion's Gate is 8/8, right, that time period. So here they're saying that because of what happened, they went through the lion's gates, the lion's mouth, this portal, in a diseased state or condition, therefore affecting the rest of the planet by the vampire that would take 80 years to clear, like draining the whole planet, right? The vampire, the energy vampire, because they needed 80 years to clear what happened with the healing help of Hawaii High, which came up yesterday. And by the way, they surrendered, I think it was August 15th, 1945. Now releasing their gases or transmuted air in Hawaii. Hawaii to Japan, like Ninki to Enki. Lady to sire, don't mess with her fire. That's all I can say. Word. When the lion's share is potty mouth, the lamb learns to use the potty. Hippopotamus, the horse's mouth. From the horse's mouth, a melting pot, am us. Morning, U.S. So that references, good morning, as she did bring up, say to, appreciate life and say good morning and hi, Ma, yesterday. Here is coming up the same kind of energy, but also the mourning of the U.S. and the vampire energy that they had to experience. But also Good Morning Vietnam then came up, which was in 1987, the movie, which was also the harmonic convergence and the procession of the equinox. And it was based on a soldier, Adrian Cronauer, who died in 2018 at 79 years old. And I didn't read the article, but I think they were talking about how, it wasn't, the example was a loose translation of the actual story. So I was guided to break down Vietnam, because Viet translated from one language as forbid, and then in it, in Arabic, and then in Hausa, just Viet came up as Vietnamese. In Wiktionary, Viet means white, dedicate, wed to people, to twist, bend, and weave, to take or take away, to lead, carry. And then not NAM, of course, means name, but it also means six, and moon, and reputation, appellation, title, to take, catch, pick, and use. Because for this, actually, Enam, which is six again, Yum, horse home, come on to us of ours. And in Sumerian, means being, state, fate, or destiny, will, testament, and because of, and locust. So there's a lot of blood-sucking kind of energies coming up, right? In the message yesterday, mosquito came up, bloody came up, locust came up, vampires coming up, right? Things that suck your blood. And locust came up in the movie I watched last night, where he literally says, they were talking about how overpopulated the world is with children. And it's supposed to be like a kind of a dark sense of humor in the movie. And he brings up, can you imagine like with the locusts, instead of locusts, having an overpopulation of children, which was a really morbid example. But that's what came up. Name also means thorn, spine, soft, male, hand, south, sin. And then boys, the collective of boys and men, that was really interesting, that Nam came up as that. The forbidden collective. So it comes up as, they both mean to take, both parts of Vietnam. So it literally can mean to take, as she was repeating things as well yesterday. But it also means white moon and white locust. White locust is also a tree. It's known as black locust and other names locust, but one of the names is white locust. And it's native to North Carolina. And it's of the quote-unquote bean family. And remember yesterday I was saying I don't know why beans coming up. And it had to do with streaming or having a limited supply of beans. But now apparently this tree, you may not want it in your garden because it tends to kind of go wild. So you wouldn't, it might take over your garden type of thing. So you wouldn't want that tree. So I wonder if this tree is going to start growing wildly. I don't know. So keep a lookout for that. So again, it's the locust tree. And I mean, it's all over the United States. I mean, as we go north into Canada, but its native place is North Carolina. It's invasive, weedy, and thorny, and has brittle branches that break in the wind, and facing the bean stream and mountainous regions, which is North Carolina. So interesting, that was coming up. All right, then, so vampires, locusts, mosquitoes, and bloody and bean stream were coming up. And here we have Good Morning Vietnam. And Bloody Sunday references police attacks or other kind of attacks on civilians who are usually demonstrating. And notice that what I noticed when I wrote that, demonstrating, is that demon. Remember, it kept coming up as bloody demon machine, and that comes up in Japanese constantly in the Google Translator. So demonstrates is demon straits, and demon also is demon. Mon, again, is the moon, or now I was getting, instead of Bloody Sunday, Bloody Monday is coming up. But of the moon, of the daughter, demon. And that came up a lot anyway for me anyway, when we were talking about the Japanese stuff and Himiko. And again, the daughter energy. Because the mother collective was coming up as the mother and son, but the mother has the daughter in her womb. So they're as one. So it's the mother, daughter in the womb, and then the son being separate from her, but part of the feminine collective. The masculine was just the masculine. So the Bloody Sunday, the Bloody Sunday, they talk about the Civil Rights March from January 30th, 1972, having to do with England and Ireland. The British troops fired on demonstrators, and 14 died and 14 were wounded. So interesting, 14 and 14 came up, the all for one and one for all. But 14 is also the temperance card, which is of the angels and that higher love type of energy of patience and balance. So the bloody bean stream and bean counters, accounting season is coming up here too with tax season, the bean stream, I just got that now. The Vietnam is also V-I-E-T-N-A-M, and E-T of course in French is and V-I also can be 6, and then N-A-M, which also could be Christed am, because N, capital N for me, is the energy of Christed. 6 and 6 is 12 as well, a dozen, and dozen is doze, E-N, and E-N for me is JC, but also represents Lord in Sumerian, so same type of energy there. The sleeping Lord or the sleeping prophet, and JC coming up. VI also means minor submediant triad, so of course then I immediately was getting the triangle as down below, you egg, alive wine, we yourselves, small child, descendant, there, here, force, strength, rare fire, to you, we, who, what, why, how, sanctuary, offering sacrifice, fin and micro. So the child being a sanctuary and sacrifice of fortitude. A minor triad, a minor being a child, but they're below, but in the middle. So then you draw an upside down triangle. The child is that top point, but at the bottom, the upside down triangle, the feminine triangle, with the two other points above them, but the child is in the middle. Below and masculine collective also came up in the translation, and child descendant, ET or extraterrestrial, of the masculine collective. The descendant ET, name, house, destiny, and state of being, a quote-unquote New York or NY state of mind, where NY means we, us, new, fresh, recent, novel, other, no, different, and new moon, the waxing moon that's happening now or tomorrow for the eclipse, the new moon and the eclipse, the partial eclipse, and then came up house of the rising sun, which is coming up in Aries. The rising sun and the daughter moon, as the new moon is the daughter partially eclipsing the rising sun. And then Diana came up, the daughter moon. So here now we have the English monarchy, and now the daughter moon of Diana coming up. And I don't get into too much of that stuff. You know, I don't know that much about the royal family. You know, I'll search some stuff now and then, but I don't get too much into it. But I always relate to Diana. We were born in the same year. She's a Cancer. I have Cancer rising. So there's definitely that kind of there's certain things about us that are very similar, although her personality, you know, very different than mine. Descendant ET name, house, destiny, state of being, the New York state of mind of being new and fresh with this new moon, waxing moon, the house of the rising sun. Descending ET state of being. So I was definitely getting people are either gonna, their higher self is either gonna come into their body or a walk-in could come in, but there's definitely some energy around that coming in. And then the antibodies K were also referencing the hybrid energy of humans, half human and half ETs who are coming in. And again, there's 25 of the K antigens, right? One is the big K, one's the little K, and then there's other little Ks with subheadings, you know, like a 1 or an A or something like that attached to them. And of the 25 Ks, most people have most of them. But the capital K, most people do not have that K. Okay, so if you have it, it's unusual. So the 4-4 is Ramsgate, and then 8-8 is Lionsgate. The 44 is also the 4 of Cups, which is grounding and integrating to the 8-8, which I always talk about the crazy eights dance between the masculine and the feminine of the twins. So here we have this gate period of 4-4 to 8-8 of grounding and integrating to dance with the twin. Not repeating the mistakes twice, just like Hiroshima, not to let that happen again on 8-6, the 80-year anniversary of it, and not going nuclear, but new and clear, not at all Greek to me. And then the unknown soldier came up. And then I looked up Greece, and 3/17/25, which was just a short time ago, in Tania, the municipality of Corinth in Greece, they found what resembles Macedonian tombs from the Hellenistic period, 323 to 30 BC. And they described it as a capital T layout. So there's that T of Terra again coming up, with access corridor 9 by 4 feet, 2.8 by 1.2 meters, and main burial chamber of 9 by 25 feet. So there's the 25 again, which is 2.75 by 7.4 meters, aligned north and south. As I just talked about, the goose flying back over my house, north and then south again. And there were 6 tombs in there, as I just talked about Vietnam being 6 and 6. 6 tombs within the monolithic sarcophagus and 5 rectangular tombs along the wall. The sarcophagus, likely an adult woman with animal bones, domesticated animal bones, both large and small species, and a tortoise shell. Ceramic vessels were there as well from about 5th or 6th centuries AD, from what they thought. And they thought it transitioned from a burial ground to a place of ritual banquets, which they would honor the deceased that was buried there. They found a gold ring set and with a semi-precious stone engraved with the image of Apollo and serpent, and referencing healing practices. They found 2 gold danikis, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, coinage from Sicyona, and silver tetrabolus like Philip III, Arhidius, gold wreath leaves, iron steel, a handbook, bronze ornaments, glass beads, bronze spoons, and intricate perfume bottles. In a larger room they found by here was a 22 by 14-foot room. They found lots of votives of clay finger figurines and hanging holes in them, related to ancient Tenia nearby, about 9 to 12 miles away, founded by Trojan prisoners of war after the Trojan War. And then all of a sudden I saw 18 hours ago they found a new Egyptian pharaoh near Abydos that they are timing it about 36,000 years ago. So you can look them up if you want. And that was announced by the University of Pennsylvania Museum, which I worked at University of PA for 25 years. Notice the 25 coming up again. And it was also announced by the Egyptian archaeologists. So the T era coming up is Terra, and then the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. There's a lot about the T coming up. And of course, the word TEA was coming up a lot yesterday. So then King Charles came up, because I was first, when I saw the K and the little k, I was getting, is this a reference to father and son? And eventually after I was assessing it, I was getting the son of the mother, which is why then I looked up King Charles, because they were talking about the monarchy, the monarchy. And then I noticed that King Charles was in the hospital from side effects of his cancer treatment. And that was today. He was apparently admitted yesterday and released today. The monarch forced, this was the article, the words used were monarch forced, both of those words just came up in my definitions, to cancel string, which is the stream of royal engagements, and then announcing that he was actually discharged and went back home. So they hadn't confirmed what kind of cancer he had. It was announced, I guess, last year in February 24. But he was being treated for some kind of prostate condition when he was diagnosed. So there you go. And that makes sense too, right? Because most people don't die of prostate cancer. It can go on for a long time. So then the mother and son, father and son energies were coming up, and William being the son of Diana. And I did the numbers of her name. Her soul number was 27, 9, which is the Ace of Wands. Her outer personality number was 58, 4, which is the 4 of Swords. And for me, that's the 5D connection. And then her destiny is 85, the reflection of that, which I always talk about as grounding the union. It's also a 4. So her life lesson number, her birthday is 7/1/61, is 25. There's 25 again. Her life lesson was 25/7, which is the Knight of Wands, which in numerology is also like the 2 of Wands. It's the split in the road, having to make a choice. And so here we have this energy of her destiny was to ground the union, the 5D connection, and her power number was 11, which has to do with vision and alignment. Her lesson was this of silence as the Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands is, giddy up, someone who wants to get up and go and play. But her lesson was of silencing of the Knight of Wands into a slow burn, which I talk about that card in my reads, because he literally is shown as that, having that slow burn. Instead of a hot red flame, it's more yellow. He's learned how to channel his energies, but as a knight, not necessarily as a king. She is the Ace of Wands. Her soul number is the flame, and seen as the 4 of Swords, at rest or praying on break, meditation in that 5D connection. The sleeping flame in order to infiltrate and ground the 5D union, learning lessons of the flame to not be doused, but to learn how to quiet yourself and channel your energies as the Knight of Wands is slow burn. And so then the ET was coming through, right? So Diana was infiltrating. And of course, we know Harry's done a lot of infiltrating and breaking down the system and leaving the family the way he has. So that's one aspect of it. But I even wonder if William is a hybrid. But again, this KK antibody thing, I'm wondering if they have that in them. But I was definitely getting this energy of Diana infiltrated the monarchy by her sons. And then I was getting Harry, of course, with what he's done already, but who's on first? Could be an E.T. walk-in, like I said, as William being a hybrid, or having a walk-in, or his higher self taking over if he's too tired from, experiencing what he's been experiencing, or is that Harry? So the blood type K came up, which is the KEL antigen system. The two main Ks of the 25, and it's called the KEL gene, which is separate from the antigen, right, because there's 25 of them. And the big K is called KEL, the little k is called Solano, like the word cell and then ANO, the KEL Solano system. It is highly polymorphism that represents a point mutation resulting in amino acid switch from threonine 193, and I always remember threonine because it's literally 309, which is a high weight around us, and it switched, the amino acid switches from the 193 in the K antigen to methionine 193, which is the big K, if I'm getting this correctly the way they're describing it. It sounded like the little k is in most people, which makes sense. So the threonine, the 193 is the little k, and the methionine is the big K that most people don't have in the KEL glycoprotein. There are 25 antigens in this group. The KEL gene encodes the KEL antigens with two major codominant alleles of what I told you, the little k and the big K, which result from an SNP, which I don't know what that stands for, I assume something protein, of, get this in parentheses, 698C with an arrow to big T, which is also CT of the city that came up yesterday, and 698 is what I describe as the twin pod, the 698 pod. And the corresponding little k and big K differ by only a single amino acid change, which I described with that 193. And then, they described it as T193M. So the K antigen, the big K, is only in 2% of blacks and 9% of Caucasians, but up to 25% Arab. So the Arab population has a large percentage of this large K, which isn't in most people. Of the 25, most of them, like I said, are in most people, but the big K is not. I just gave you the percentages of that. And then there's a few KS, K little s, K, P with a little to the A, little a, and then U1A is in 20% of blacks, but most of them are very rare in anybody, of just those few that I just mentioned now. But like I said, most of the 25 are in everybody except for that big K. So big K and little k are the major ones. And those without the big K, but with the little k, because most people have the little k, is 91% in Caucasians and 98% blacks. The people having both K, little and big K, is only 8.8 in Caucasian and 2% in blacks. And then the others they listed were most of the population, so I'm not going to go into that. But they also have a K null. So if someone has no K antigens, then they really should only get another blood transfusion that has KO also, because that means they have no Ks. So the blood with Ks could cause an allergic reaction. The two issues with the Ks had to do with blood transfusions and also just like the RH, the mother-child combination, because if they have the K null, the K0, they are healthy, but they produce anti-Q when they encounter red blood cells that do express the KEL antigen and can have a transfusion reaction. They described one infant death from this. So anyway, you can look up more on that if you want to. Like I said, only up to 9% have the large K positive and the small k positive. Most people have the small k positive, but most do not have the large K. That was the most clinically significant. So those are the messages that came up. Just make sure I didn't miss anything. By the way, the KEL gene is on the chromosome 7 at 7q33. And again, I'm wondering if this K antigen has something to do with ETs and hybridization, because Elena Danon's book also described the RH being related to reptilian blood, that the O, I don't remember what it said exactly, that the O blood was reptilian, so in order for the O and the A and B to be able to come together and have children, they added the D, which is the RH factor. So if you have a positive RH factor, it's because it was added to your blood so that you could successfully have children between the O and the AB. And right, so if you have RH negative, it means you didn't have that addition to your blood. So what came up for me before when I was talking about RH as opposed to K was that you may have trouble conceiving with a partner if they, for example, have O blood and you have A or B negative, because then you shouldn't be able to have children, right? Because you're talking about the reptilian blood and then the Anunnaki blood. And Anunnaki is the combination of Lyran and reptilian, but then the Anunnaki, seeded the beings that were already on the planet, and making them more human. And so then if you have more reptilian blood with the O, again, you may have issues conceiving with people with A or B negative. So hopefully that made sense to you. Let me know in the comments if it didn't. I'll clarify it for you if you need me to. Okay, hopefully that's it. Let me know if it was interesting to you, because it definitely was interesting to me, or if you have anything to add to that information. I'd really appreciate it. Have a great day, you guys, and a great week. Rise and be loved. Bye.